It turns out that without a civilian shipbuilding industry, the U.S. Navy can only make hugely expensive prototypes, not the 200 warships we need. The same is true of other sectors, including civilian aviation. Boeing is currently years late in delivering...
Hang on. Slow down for a second. Sorry,
Yeah.
I haven't read this article. Does the U.S. need 200 warships?
So there's a problem that we don't build our own warships. They get built overseas.
Right.
That's it.
So why is that a problem?
Because this person's fucking stupid. Like, just the sentence alone, we can just we don't even have to do the rest. We just fucking have that conversation just simply. And we go right here. The U.S. Navy can only make hugely expensive prototypes. The phrasing of this, as if the prototype of the ship is not necessary for the other ships to be made. As if building the first one, which is, you've read Living Currency. I mean, Klosowski goes into it. The first practice, the way you build something, the learning to build something, what you build, how you do, the waste in that is incredibly expensive, is necessary to build the rest. You don't just build a fucking ship unless you're this very, very stupid person. Again, Unheard is filled with a lot of very, very stupid, reactionary, resentment-filled people.
If junks were good enough for ancient China, it's good enough for the United States. Okay, we already have the prototypes. I need to redo it a million times. We have
Boeing is years late
on water.
Boeing is years late in delivering tankers to U.S. and Allied air forces. The Israelis
also, hang on, slow down. Does this fucker know the size of a warship? Do you realize like what a prototype of that thing involves? Like you're talking about. Let's say you're talking about an aircraft carrier. They've been trying to upgrade aircraft carriers for a few decades. That's a ship the size of a small city. Like,
this is why.
How many prototypes of the fucking Death Star?
Here's why you don't have to care about Yanis or be nice to him. This is literally like the thing. This is in the article next to his. By the way, if you are ever writing and you find this in an article next to yours, quit.
Someone said Bataille time in chat. This is not what Bataille is talking about, by the way. It's just to be clear. Bataille's
different thing. This is what Klosowski's talking about in Living Currency.
Yes.
As for the labor supply, cutting gigantic federal gifts to rich universities, which turn out unlimited numbers of sociologists and sexologists, and who often end up working for the government in some capacity, will give us more workers and perhaps more plumbers, too.
Yeah, fuck those plumbers, I guess. Oh my god. Oh, I hate these people. I hate these people so much.
So this is who Yanis has decided to throw his hat in with, and he deserves every comment on it.
By the way, every single one of these anti-woke universities that's popped up, they've all failed. There's a simple reason why. I am not actually allowed to say ableist slurs. That's a rule I set for myself. I can't explain why. I can't. Brooks, who are these institutions all run by? My darkest thoughts. He was not saying that.
No, I'm saying that because I think they are. Barry Weiss ran her own little stupid little garbage university for a little bit. She sucks. She sucks. She's not a good writer. She's not interesting. She got her job through nepotism.
Subscribe to the channel to signal that you disavow. This is unacceptable. And frankly, I am shocked.
Hey, look, until we get monetized, I will continue to use the words I want.
They're okay with you saying retard, unfortunately.
Probably. But I only use it once in a while. And to be fair, Barry Weiss deserves it.
Actually, judging by what YouTube allows on its channel these days, I think the primary issue with you saying retard is that you're not also a white nationalist on top of it.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
I should become a Nazi. I could get away with so much more.
Well, there goes the dreams of this channel being monetized.
Attempt to have their cake and eat it. That is the Trump administration. They want to reduce the value of the dollar, which they are succeeding in doing, clearly, looking at the markets today. While at the same time, they don't want to see the dollar losing its exorbitant privilege. So he wants to, let's say, bargain with the Japanese and get them to sell.
I just want Americans to be able to afford food. It's a weird...
large chunk of the $1.2 trillion that they have in savings without buying euros. Doing anything that will reduce the value of the dollar without undermining its reserve currency status. And with each country or
can I
commodity
say
bloc that they
something?
will negotiate.
Never trust a man with a bookshelf in the background when he hasn't even taken the bare minimum effort to make sure that they aren't all damaging each other by leaning on each other.
I just,
But
yeah,
in all
that's fair.
seriousness,
That's fair.
these are not things he gives a shit about. They're just
Well,
ink.
so I have a bunch of smaller books that I have stacked that are on each other and stacked all funny. It's not that I don't care about them; it's that they're books I have for reading, so I kind of throw them down and pick them up. So
Well,
but
you're just like Satan today, aren't you?
I know it's terrible.
Ugh.
You would have a heart attack if you saw my upper shelf. You'd really have a heart attack.
You're never going to show me your upper shelf because I will be detained at the border and held in a nice facility for 2 weeks.
Very nice.
They will ask for different things. So, for instance, from Germany, they will say, don't you dare stop BASF or Mercedes from shifting their production plants to the United States. From the Chinese, they will demand other things. And, Trump is quite nonchalant. He says, well,
again, manufacturing, that's not a thing you can do.
Money, 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 money.
Subscribe.
Thank you very much. And yes, indeed, subscribe.
Who was that? Rick's Eye. Thank you very much.
It was Rick's Eye. Jesus. Like, again, he's saying what part of his job as an economist should be to add a little bit of color to they want Germany to move a bunch of manufacturing in the United States. Okay. Why would they? Like, what's the thing and how would they? Like, just saying that presumes that it's reasonable in any way. Like, you have to respond slightly to the things you're saying.
What is Yanis' background? So he's an economist. Is he a developmental economist?
No, a political economist, and I think
a political economist.
No, he's got a bunch. One sec, he's got a bunch of fucking degrees.
If he's a political economist, then I'm calling bullshit right out the gate.
No, he's got a whole bunch of degrees. Let's take a look. He's been doing stuff.
I know he's been doing stuff. I'm just like, okay,
because
it's like I you know what this reminds me of? It's like when I was
economics and econometrics in the University of Essex. Let's see. He got his MSc in mathematical statistics in 1982. And then he became Australian. He's done a whole bunch. He's just done a bunch of shit. But then he became the economic advisor to the president of Greece, and that made his career because he became the minister of finance, I think.
There's a reason why professors need institutions of tenure and need to be able to take sabbaticals to do research. And the reason is that unfortunately, actually knowing shit takes a lot of time and solitude and work, which the desire by media organizations to have experts on demand to just come in and just lay down the law, these are not actually compatible with each other. So if you're an academic who wants to be on news stations constantly being the authority and talking to people, which who doesn't? We're on YouTube. Why are we doing that? I'd much rather be working at a cafe, to be honest. People laugh about me. Oh, the channel is demonetized. You're going to work at Tim Hortons? Well, not Tim Hortons, but I'd love to be a barista. That's just me. Like, if you showing up and just talking about this shit and just like saying, oh, and this is how it will be. You can't do that. You're talking about like trying to articulate the workings of the entire planet to lay people.
Yeah.
And like it's like with that Dr. Anna video I was covering the other night, where she's like, oh, there's 2 rules for how you create a narcissist in psychology.
Oh, that was so painful.
And that's real. That made me so sad because I liked her. Like, that is very appealing if you are someone who has not put any work into psychology and you want to feel smart by understanding 2 things. And that it's all so simple. It's just 2 little rules or 1 little rule or whatever. That comes back to that sort of pandemic of everybody thinks that there is the perverse, unintuitive solution to a thing. Oh, it's so simple. That's the answer to everything. Oh, it's so simple. It took a genius to understand how simple it is. Like, no, some things are actually complex. And the marketability of reducing things to a stupid meme, it's fucking killing us.
It's also worth noting, though, because and again, I don't necessarily begrudge this, but it's worth putting in there as a thing. Yanis, after that, made his sort of other name working for Valve and helping develop the economies around Team Fortress 2, CS:GO, and Dota 2.
Are you fucking serious?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it was Yanis. He was the second video game economist. The first one was the dude from CCP Games, but he was the other
weird.
one. So when you talk about like items in CS:GO and the gambling of that and the marketplaces and everything, Yanis had a fucking huge hand in that. Huge. And the last we didn't mention is from Lisa. Thank you, Lisa, for the tip. It's very nice of you.
Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate it. Are the tips silenced? I didn't hear that one.
You were talking the whole time.
Oh.
So it's not silenced, but I don't think it's going to play when you're talking through yourself.
But I should be able to still hear it, right?
You heard the other ones.
Yeah, I didn't hear this one. It's weird.
Yeah, it's okay.
Well, if my negotiations with the Chinese in the end, or with the Malaysians or with the Bangladeshis don't work out for me, well, at least I will have an income stream from the tariffs that they will be paying.
If we take Trump's stated goals seriously,
not if everybody
what you make of the
renegotiates trade deals with everybody else to make sure they don't have to rely on the states for it. You won't. Like, here's the thing. This is what people don't understand. If the United States suddenly was destroyed in a nuclear winter and it was just gone, just like a black part of the map that had no content, right? The world would not end. It would suck because all of us have built our lives based upon presumptions of certainty about things that depend at some level on the United States being there in its current way to continue as is. It would be very stressful and very tiring, and a lot of people would die in the process, but the world would not end. This is, again, like, tariffs are essentially another variant of sanctions. They work if your goal is to nudge people you are in ongoing connections with to change behaviors in subtle ways that they can tolerate. If you're doing it in such ways or in such a manner that they don't have faith that that is a viable thing to expect going forward, even if, for whatever reason, they negotiate a continuance of trade and of that same relationship going forward, they're in the back of their minds and in practice going to be looking for alternatives, and those alternatives are going to grow. They're going to find ones that work, and eventually you're going to be cut off and isolated. And all that power you had is just gone.
Just gone.
It's just gone. Just replaced by other things.
Likelihood that these tactics, the strategy, will actually achieve the goals that Donald Trump says he's trying to achieve.
Again, one, Donald Trump has given 1,000 goals. So cherry picking 2 of them and saying these are good is like basically doing his work as a propagandist for him. So shame on both of you for doing that. But secondly, the overt way that these things function is that they do a crazy fucking thing and they let the more sensible people figure out what the narrative should be, and then they'll fall back on that. So it's doubly doing their work for them. Fuck you both. Like, seriously pisses me off.
With quote-unquote Liberation Day tariffs.
There's no doubt that he will succeed in achieving his objectives to some extent, to some magnitude.
What the fuck does that even mean?
Already. There are plans by Germans, by Japanese, even by some Chinese business people, to shift production to the United States. So there's going to be a flood of investment into the United States. There is going to be a reduction in the trade deficit of the United States. The question is, are the
Wait, why would that
costs?
reduce? Why would that do that? Why would moving manufacturing to the United States in any capacity reduce trade deficits? Like, you're talking about pennies on the $100, if anything, at that point.
He's acting like a reliance on Chinese and Malaysian and Taiwanese manufacture will just suddenly reverse polarity. But that's not how that works. Like, there's a reason why why Canada and the United States aren't
It would-
centers of cheap
wouldn't
manufacture.
wouldn't it make it worse? Like let's say Nintendo. I saw a post on the Nintendo subreddit I almost included in this where someone asked, what? It would just take a couple months for Nintendo to set up an American factory, which I love. Mwah, thank you for existing, whoever you are, you ignorant fuck. But that thing, like,
You know why manufacture is economically advantageous for us to engage in overseas, like why we pay people in other countries to manufacture our shit, because those workers have no rights and they can be paid pennies on the hour. That's why it's slavery with a few sanitizing layers filtering it. That's it. You can't just replicate that at home. You don't want that. You really don't want that. You are not competitive if you do that. You know why only rich people like here.
but wait, I'm
Looks-
talking about like at a fundamental level, not even that. It's
Yeah.
if Nintendo moved the Switch manufacturing to the US, let's say they built the Switches here,
Sure.
it would actually make the trade deficit worse. Even though the Switches in theory would be here, all the parts are not going to be made here. They're still made. Samsung's still going to be making the
No,
screens.
we're going to make them all here, Brooks.
Yeah, but that's
all
not.
gonna happen
But
here.
none of that's going to be the case. We would
They're
have
going
to
to build a
build.
big dome. Okay. And they're gonna
In
just
order to
seed
do
it
that,
with
you're
all the stuff
talking
they
about tens of millions of extremely low-paying jobs that, on production, and the production of this would cause the Switch to become not
but
$450,
we've covered that.
but
We
instead it
covered
would
that,
be
you see.
$1,200 to
No, 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 no.
$1,500.
So you're thinking
And
like a lib. You're thinking like a lib, like a.
I'm thinking
globalist,
like
Brooks.
business.
You're
Yes.
thinking like a globalist lib, Brooks. See, here's the thing: we're going to reintroduce a warrior ethic. Okay, people are
No,
gonna.
I know you're
people
making.
are gonna.
I
People are
get
going to
it, but
live
I'm-
in Spartan conditions. They're going to be strong men. America needs strong men. They're going to eat nothing but beans, and they're going to spend 16 hours a day putting Nintendo Switches together.
But I think this is
You're
my
like
underlying
gods.
point is like,
Yeah.
I'm talking about it like at a real fundamental level.
Yeah.
If you have a factory, like let's say you're making Teslas here, I don't give a fuck what it is. You want to make chips here, great. The stuff you're then importing and you're doing it in mass. And then like, again, to do that, you're exacerbating the trade deficit. Maybe a fewer Nintendo Switches will have to be imported, but chances are they would, because again, the Nintendo Switch is manufactured here with our wage rules, our OSHA requirements, our labor laws, our safety laws, our oversight necessitates, and I do not want to get rid of any of those. And I know they want to, but even if you get rid of all of those, you're still going to be more expensive to produce a Switch here than in China or Japan necessarily. And so the Switches made here will be more expensive than importing them with Trump's tariff. So people won't do it. People won't have the money to do it because they're working in a goddamn Switch factory. Like, this doesn't work at all. It actually is. And again, Yanis, my dude, this is like 2 steps of economic theory. This is not like complicated shit. Just go, hey, if America suddenly was China, let's just switch them. And we had minimum of $15 an hour fucking jobs in every Chinese factory with all the oversight. How expensive would goods be from China? Prohibitively. That would be the end of Chinese manufacturing. That's it.
Yep.
So what the fuck are you wanting to do? Like this is the problem with these people. They fucking don't get any of this shit. It's incredible.
It's going to be greater than the benefits for Trump.
Right.
And allow me to say that I think from a political perspective, not so much from an economic perspective, Trump's greatest enemy, the thing that should keep him up at night with terrible nightmares, is the prospect of complete success. Because suppose he succeeds. I'm not saying he will, but suppose
Welcome back.
he
Sorry about that.
He succeeds.
It's fine. He's saying the
I
worst thing
accidentally
would
hit the
be
X
if Trump.
button.
He's saying the worst thing would be if Trump was successful. For Trump.
Beyond his own dreams to eliminate the trade deficit of the United States through these tactics. Let's say he does it, okay? He's going to have some very angry mates in the New York Stock Exchange and in the real estate market in Miami, in California, in Manhattan. Why? Because the trade deficit of the United States, as of why? Because the trade deficit of the United
It's like, did you
in
see that?
California, in Manhattan. Why? Because the trade deficit of the United
I
States,
feel like the screen popped out. Was it just me?
Do it again.
the New York Stock Exchange, and in the real estate market in Miami.
Yeah,
I want to look at what's on someone's desktop. Sorry,
Yeah, no. I agree. Go back. Good eye. All right, blow that up.
All
Make
right,
it
let's
bigger.
do it. Blow up.
Nick Stout, George B, Mark Hemingway, Justin Goodman. These are all names.
This is the producers folder. These are all the people they've recorded and had interviews with or are planning. I like seeing stuff like this.
Gavin
These fucking
Newsom,
weirdos.
Jefferson, breaking. Nothing. Doesn't look like there's anything.
Nothing particularly interesting, sadly.
Hang on. Wait. Fenton.
RFK Jr. reaction video. This is just videos and edits that they've got in folders.
Who's Evita
Gavin
Duffy?
Newsom.
Evita Duffy, Sean Duffy's daughter. Who's Sean Duffy?
This is boring.
Secretary of Transportation.
Yeah.
There's some shit happening with Evita Duffy, apparently.
Who knows? This is just the editor's screen. Damn, thought it'd be funny.
Okay, but if something happens with Evita Duffer, you saw it here first.
Yeah, we broke that. We broke that story.
In California, in Manhattan. Why? Because the trade deficit of the United States, as of the mid-1970s, to this day, has been operating as a huge vacuum cleaner that has been sucking the capital of the world, the profits of foreign capitalists, into New York and into the real estate markets of the United States. So if he eliminates the trade surplus, which is keeping the realtors and the financial.
This is from 5 days ago. So I think it's something to do with this. So Sean Duffy's daughter, which is Evita Duffy, laid into the effort for proxy voting led by Florida and Republican Rep. Anna Paulina Luna after the House tanked a procedural rule on Tuesday. Feel free to resign. It's just remote voting bullshit.
I want to take a second of what he just said, where he said that I want to just go over the function of this that he's going deep into.
Sucking the 70s states, as of the mid-1970s, to this day, has been operating as a huge vacuum cleaner that has been sucking the capital of the world, the profits of foreign capitalists, into New York. And
I actually want to understand how, if someone can explain maybe in chat, because for me, the nature of a surplus, a trade deficit would be that money is exiting the country to foreign capitalists, and that those foreign capitalists, if anything, are putting money in the stock exchange. Like vacuuming up gives a layer to this that feels
apologetic.
I don't know.
Like,
I don't know. It's a weird phrasing because it's like, it's saying that the trade deficit is something that Wall Street wants because it lets them hoover up money from overseas. And I'm not sure I understand fully
how that works.
Like I get that money does come back to us because, you know, when someone who has a bunch of money and gets a bunch of money through how goods are purchased, someone in China, they then invest money in U.S. stock markets, financial instruments, and housing. But I'm not sure how that works. Like why he sees it as hoovering it up. I'm not sure how that works.
And into the real estate markets of the United States. So if he eliminates the trade surplus, which is keeping the realtors and the financiers happy and plumb, he will have some very irate financiers and realtors knocking on his door. And he will have a terrible dilemma for him, delicious from my perspective, as one of his political enemies. He will have to choose whom to betray. The American working class that voted him in, or his mates in the financial and real estate sectors. I think you know what my guesses are.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually sort of the perfect test of the true soul of MAGA.
I know it's depressing news. You have 2 seconds. It's breaking.
Oh no. I hate breaking news.
Supreme Court has overturned the lower court's block on the Venezuelan deportations. Supreme Court has agreed that the president can just ad hoc, without trial, deport people to Venezuela. Can continue to deport Venezuelan migrants based on Wartime Powers Act for now, overturning lower court that had put a stop to it. Decision is a victory. They did not address the question whether the Trump administration improperly categorized Venezuelans as deportable under the Alien Enemies Act. Just to know, there was an investigation done by 60 Minutes into all of the names that were deported, and 75% had no criminal history in any country, including Venezuela. Only 3% or so were violent criminals. The justices, because they're pieces of shit, determined that the migrants should have raised challenges in Texas, where they were being held. The detainees are confined in Texas, so venue is improper in the District of Columbia, despite, I mean, I think we can think of reasonable reasons why that might be a fine one. Justice Brett Kavanaugh stressed the justices were in agreement migrants should receive judicial review, but they were divided over where the case should be heard. As the court stresses, the court's disagreement with the dissenters is not over whether the detainees receive judicial review of their transfers. All 9 members of the court agree that judicial review is available. The only question is where it should occur. And boy, I wonder if how Texas might handle that.
Is I hope in some horrible possible afterlife Ruth Bader Ginsburg knows about this. Just fucking hell.
Now that you put it that way, Yanis, can you talk to us a little bit more about what the potential costs could be, not just to the financial sector, but when you're mentioning the American working class, sort of the core politically again of the Trump base, economically, even if there's this flood of investments coming into the U.S., we get more manufacturing jobs and people benefit from that. What other consequences, negative consequences, could the working class in the United States see as a result of the agenda Trump laid out last night?
Well, the worst case scenario for the working class in the United States is if this capital influx into the United States produces very few good quality jobs, but his tax cuts, which are coming, they haven't come yet, but they will hit the ground at some point, massively boost the income and therefore the bargaining power of employers, when the labor market is not particularly boosted by whatever capital floods into the United States, then the hard-pressed and impoverished working class that voted for him are going to be very disappointed.
We lost Sunday again. We keep losing Sunday. I think we're losing Sunday. Did I lose myself? Oh, no. No, I'm still live. Excellent. We're still connected and all of that. I don't understand Yanis's point here. I feel like he's making a shift, or he was always there and I just didn't notice. He's in El Salvador now.
Pointed with him, and they're going to essentially keep losing bargaining power and purchasing power like they have been since 1975, 1973. So that's the worst case scenario for the American working class.
Brooks, let me in. There's no controls. There's no controls. One second. Let me see if I can turn off. No, there's no locks on the meeting. There's no locks on the meeting. are no locks on it. One sec. Let me see if I can. I love how he's talking to me from fucking chat as the channel. That makes my day. Let me refresh the page. Hello? Did it work? That's because I hid you. Because I was doing stuff on screen. I didn't want everyone to see what I was doing. Is that better? Are you what
I think
happened?
So, yeah. I don't know. I just you froze the.
Oh, weird. You just disconnected straight up.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell happened. My connection's fine because I was watching the stream still. So, Convenient still wants as asking if there will be an in the fold Discord. There isn't in the fold Discord that we're using. My thought is currently no, because if you want to communicate with us, we have the QC and the Cathedral, and you can go to either of those, and they already more or less satisfy the range of things that we do.
And neither of us are super interested in like
monitoring a Discord,
a third Discord life. Because I get pinged enough from Sundays. He's got enough shit to deal with in the QC. Adding
also
a third
from
one.
Sundays.
Yeah. Ugh. I don't get what he's doing here, and it feels like I am slowly realizing that he was always further right than I thought.
Well, further right or just a shill?
Further right.
There's a significant difference, but
I think further right, and it's frustrating to hear.
Economists, liberal
At the same
economists.
time, it all depends. It's a system of equations, not just one equation in one unknown, because you have the tax cuts. Exactly what are they going to be? Social security, food stamps. Let's not forget that if it weren't for Social Security and food stamps in the United States, the poverty line would engulf another 15-20% of the population. So what is he going to do with these? Are these going to be part of the savage cuts by Elon Musk and his Doge team? So it's all up in the air. And we are waiting with bated breath to find out what the the actual solution to that system of equations is.
Can I ask what you made of the rollout? Donald Trump is at the White House yesterday. He's got these big charts with all of these different countries, some of which are absolutely tiny, and people have mocked the formula that that they use to put the numbers up on the charts. It was quite a scene. I'm curious what you made of it, Yanis.
Well, as for the formula itself, the algebraic formula, it's really very simple. Mm-hmm. I mean, it is typical Trumpism that, he misidentifies variables, and he talked about the effective tariff, mm-hmm. which he thinks that China and the European Union and Britain are imposing on American goods. There is no such thing in his calculation. His calculation is simply he takes the trade deficit, he divides it by the American imports from that particular country, and then divides that by 2. And that's the tariffs that he slaps on people. So it really doesn't matter whether you have a trade surplus to the United States because you are selling something to the United States that the United States could never get hold of, or because you are manipulating your currency or using unfair trade.
I can't. Okay.
So can I be honest with you?
Now he's saying,
yeah.
I mean, it's, what do you think? Trump actually knows what he's doing? Duh, he doesn't. It's fucking simpler. He doesn't have a clue what he's doing.
Then what's predictable, doofus? Why are you saying it's predictable?
And
there's a logic behind this.
And then why earlier is he fighting, saying how silly it is to say that Trump doesn't know what he's doing? What the fuck is going on with this?
I think he's just making it up as he goes.
Trade practices. But look, that whole scene at the Rose Garden yesterday was, I think it was a brilliant Goebbels-like propaganda performance.
I would say it's the opposite. What the fuck, Yanis? How is that a brilliant... He put Taiwan on the list. Like, if you want China to basically be really upset and not want to deal with you, like...
Thank you, kind stranger. Like... Yeah, you know who's taking advantage of America is China. So you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna stop supporting the country they've been trying to colonize for the past century. Like, he's just making it up as he goes. He's just making it up. He has no idea what he's saying or why.
Is he inarticulate? I think he is. Are his
It's something you
economic
will learn,
advisors
by the way,
inarticulate?
if
No,
you
they're
read The Art of the Deal. Just so you know. Sorry, go on.
not. If you read their stuff, they know what they're doing. They know their stuff. What
They
I
don't.
think is missing.
They make, if you read their stuff, they have fake names that are their own name in anagram that they quote as their expert. So Yanis,
I like how he's putting himself. He's talking about a fictional alias like it's a colleague.
oh, and he's been citing him. He's been citing him as an expert. So just imagine Squoob Nord. You won't even believe it, Sunday. Look, I have definitive proof. There's an expert who agrees with me that everything is going to be perfectly
Actually,
fine. His
hang on.
name's
No,
Squoob Nord.
Scoob Nord is real. He's a famous Grox intellectual.
Yes.
You know this. This is a terrible example.
Yeah.
Missing from, especially in Europe,
Ganinji
is a very serious willingness to look inside themselves and look at their own problems. You see that Germany and Japan, which were creatures after 1945 of the United States Grand Plan known as Bretton Woods, they were created as surplus producing countries. This was their role in that American design. Well, that American design is now dead in the water. And the United States no longer is prepared to accept their surpluses.
But
and
why?
what you don't have, this is what's missing in the media, in parliaments actually, in the public discourse, is a serious reconsideration by Europeans and by the British and by the Japanese and to some extent by the Chinese to say, okay, look, the era during which we lived on the American trade deficit is gone.
Right.
How are we going to rebalance our economy so we are no longer dependent on the United States? You have all this talk in the European Union about becoming independent of the United States in terms of military production and armaments, but no discussion about how they're going to stop the mercantilist process that keeps Germany totally dependent on the U.S. trade deficit. And what this means in practice
Am I crazy or
is,
did he just talk in a
create in Europe-
circle?
He absolutely did talk in a
That
circle.
didn't make
Please-
any
please
sense.
go.
So they're not dependent on this anymore. How are they going to make it so they're not dependent on this anymore? Like what? What?
It's not as it's confusing because the primary thing we import from Germany is cars. And it tends to be on the luxury side of things. That's like our thing. Medicine's the other, which currently has no tariffs. But that setup.
Looks like. Hang on. Wait. It's not cars. It's no, it is.
That was cars.
Cars is in the top categories. It seems like it's appliances.
Cars and meds.
No, it is vehicles.
Appliances.
No, vehicles, then pharmaceuticals, then machinery. Why is it reversed on this website?
No idea.
Weird.
Um,
Yeah, vehicles. I was confused by that too. I was like, really?
Trump substantially raised tariffs on steel and blah, blah, blah. When is this from? February 11th. God, 2 months ago feels like a lifetime.
I know, right?
God damn it.
Remember when we were Remember when we were all like just laughing in horror at Biden confusing Zelensky with Putin? What an innocent time.
Led by cars and pharmaceutical goods increased 2.2% year on year to a record 161.3 billion euros in 2024. But again, I keep going back to the same thing where it's like, is this like, I get how it's not great for Germany in the sense that they are somewhat dependent on the US, but like, how was that a bad thing? Germany overall, their manufacturing base is fantastic. They've actually done a really amazing job when it comes to inequality generally, workers' rights. Germany wouldn't allow a Tesla plant to be built there without a fuck ton of rules and unions. And like, I'm not sure how, like, again, these things in and of themselves aren't necessarily bad in the same way they are anywhere else. I'm very confused, I guess, is the very short answer, Sunday. I'm very confused again.
A happy thought.
Oh, I don't have a happy thought, but I have a secret to tell you.
No, it's about a happy thought. Hello?